Let's kick things off with a huge assumption we all make every day online. It's this gut feeling, right? That our data, well, it belongs to us.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? We're talking about your life, just in digital form. Your photos, your private messages with friends, your late-night search history. It's all a footprint of your thoughts, where you go, what you buy. It feels so personal, so it has to be yours, right?
Well, as you can probably guess, it's not quite that simple. That feeling of ownership we just take for granted, it runs headfirst into a much more complicated reality.
So, let's start peeling back the layers on what we'll call the ownership illusion. This is all about the gap between what feels like ours and what the system actually treats as ours.
See, every single day, without even realizing it, you're entering into a kind of digital agreement. It's not something you actively decide to do, it's just a consequence of being online.
And what does that look like in the real world? Well, it happens the second you open a social media app and start scrolling. It happens when you type a question into a search engine. And oh, it definitely happens every single time you click accept on one of those cookie banners. Each one of those little actions is basically you nodding along, giving your approval.
You can think of every one of those clicks as a kind of digital handshake. You get to use a service, usually for free, and in return, you're giving something up. So the big question is, what are you actually agreeing to in that handshake?
This is where a legal term called a broad license comes in. Now, when you upload a photo, you're not selling it. You still own the copyright. But what you are doing is giving that platform permission, really broad permission, to use your photo in ways that help them. They can host it, process it, analyze it, even use it to train their AI and improve their own services.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, the difference between access and ownership. You were given access. You can log in, you can see your own photos, you can read your old messages, but the platform is granted rights, the actual power to take that data and put it to work for them.
So why do they want these rights so badly? Well, because your data, even the parts that seem totally boring, is incredibly valuable. So let's figure out where all that value is actually coming from.
You know, it goes way beyond just the stuff you actively post. We're talking about sophisticated tracking scripts that are logging your behavior. They don't just see what you click on, they see what you ignore. They measure the milliseconds you pause on a picture, what you scroll right past, where you are physically, and even the phone or computer you're using to do it all.
And here's the thing. One single piece of data, like you checking in at a coffee shop, is pretty much useless by itself. The real magic, the real value, happens when millions and millions of these little data points are all thrown together. That's when you can start to see these huge, sweeping patterns in how people behave.
And that is the end game. Once you can analyze those patterns, you can go from just knowing what someone did in the past to making scarily accurate predictions about what they're going to do next. It's not about looking in the rearview mirror, it's about building a model of what you're going to buy, where you're going to go, and what you're going to click on tomorrow.
This incredible predictive power, it's the fuel for a gigantic marketplace that most of us never even see. There's an entire economy humming along, built on buying and selling these very insights about us.
And right in the middle of it all, you have these players called data brokers. Now, these are companies you've probably never heard of, and you've definitely never done business with them directly. Their whole job is to hoover up data from all over the place, stitch it together, and build these incredibly detailed profiles on people. Profiles they then sell. So you can see how this creates a cycle, right? It starts with you, just using a free app or website. That platform collects and analyzes your data. Then an advertiser pays the platform for a chance to reach you based on what your data says about you. And that money from the advertiser, that's what pays for the free service to exist. Round and round it goes.
Now, to be clear, this isn't some shady conspiracy theory. It's just business. It's the economic model that makes most of the internet work. You could say data is the fuel and advertising is the engine that keeps the whole thing running.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. Let's go back to that original question about ownership. What we're finding is that the most important word isn't ownership at all. It's control. I mean, just think about it for a second. What if you truly owned your data, no strings attached? What would that even look like? What would you actually be able to do?
Well, true ownership would mean you'd have some serious power. You could decide exactly how your data gets used. Maybe you could even charge companies to use it. You could block it from being shared with anyone else. And, this is the big one, you could hit a delete button and know that it was gone for good from every single system everywhere.
But in reality, you can't. That's just not how it works right now. So if we're asking who really controls your data, the answer is complicated. From a technical standpoint, you do. You're the one creating it. Legally, it's kind of a mess, all buried in those terms of service nobody reads. But economically, well, that's where it's crystal clear. The platform is in the driver's seat. They're the ones who control its value.
When you boil it all down, it really comes back to one core idea. Data is currency.
So the question we should be asking isn't, is my data being collected? Because we know the answer to that is a definite yes. The much better, much smarter question is this: do I actually understand the system I'm participating in every day? Because once you understand how it all works, that's when you can really start to think about who's in control.